Welcome back, loyal listeners of Realms Unveiled. I am the Ancient Elder. This evening, we take you back in time to the late 18th century, when the island of Hispaniola was embroiled in one of the most significant uprisings in history, the Haitian Revolution. Among the key figures was Toussaint Louverture, a leader unlike any other, and his closest confidant, Cécile Fatima, a voodoo priestess of fearsome power. But tonight, we reveal a darker, untold side of this struggle for freedom, a tale that marries history with the occult, wrapped in the shroud of voodoo magic. The tale begins on a muggy night in 1791 in the woods of the Bois Cayman. Voodoo drums echoed in the darkness, their rhythm frenetic, punctuated by chants and invocations to the Loa, the spirits of Haitian voodoo. Toussaint, then still a slave, was conflicted. He'd always considered himself a devout Catholic, but desperate times called for desperate measures, and if allying with the forces of voodoo would bring freedom, so be it. Cécile Fatima, a sight to behold, with her flowing robes adorned with symbols and her eyes filled with a supernatural glow, stepped into the circle. She held a black rooster, its feathers slick in the humid air. With a swift movement, she sliced its throat, letting the blood spill into a dark cauldron filled with a horrifying mixture of herbs, bones, and other esoteric elements. Loa of death and rebirth, Baron Smeddy, hear our plea? She crooned in a voice that made the trees shudder. Let the oppressors feel your wrath. Let the chains shatter. Let the revolution consume like the flames of a rampant fire. Suddenly, the air turned dense, and the attendees could sense an unearthly presence among them. Cécile began to convulse, her body taken over by the spirit of Baron Sumedi. She spoke in tongues, in a voice that wasn't hers, cursing the French oppressors with suffering beyond imagination. The next day, Toussaint felt an inexplicable surge of strength and purpose. Boistered by the dark incantations, the rebellion ignited, burning through the plantations like a wildfire. But as the revolution gained momentum, so did the terrible curse that Cécile had invoked. Reports began to surface. French officers found choked by the vines that had sprung from the ground. Slave owners discovered dead with their bodies twisted in gruesome contortions as if racked by some unseen force. Even as they celebrated their victories, Toussaint couldn't shake the feeling that they had unleashed something unspeakable. Cécile, too, grew increasingly distant, her eyes always clouded as if burdened by the horrific energies she had summoned. Years passed, and the revolution succeeded in the quest for freedom. Toussaint, however, found no solace, as he was captured and exiled by his enemies. He couldn't help but ponder the dark forces they had consorted with. Had the freedom been worth the horrors unleashed by the black magic? Were they forever bound to the malevolent forces they had beckoned. And what of Cecil Fatiman? Legend has it that she vanished into the Haitian mountains, her fate intertwined with the Loa she had invoked, forever a keeper of dark secrets, an enigmatic figure shrouded in the annals of history and the murky realms of voodoo magic. So concludes this half of Realms Unveiled, where history and the occult walk hand in hand down shadowy paths. What are we willing to pay for freedom? And who are we willing to become in its name? Ponder these questions, dear listeners, and hear what we have to say now. As we switch our focus from the grim historical backdrop of the Haitian Revolution to the sun-soaked beaches of Jamaica. However, do not be fooled, for we are diving into a tale just as chilling, a story of seduction, dark magic, and karmic retribution. Meet Sophia, a stunning and manipulative woman who has set her sights on a married man named Marcus. Unsatisfied with being the other woman, she seeks the services of Miss Cleo, an Obeah practitioner known for her potent spells. Sophia, you understand the price, don't you? Miss Cleo said, her eyes narrowing as she counted the thick wad of cash laid on her wooden table. Absolutely, Miss Cleo. Marcus will leave his wife and be mine, is all I want. Sophia replied, her voice tinged with a desperate hunger. Within days, Marcus, betwitched by the spell, left his loving wife Karen. However, what neither Sophia nor Miss Cleo knew was that Karen descended from a long line of powerful spiritual warriors. Her ancestors did not take kindly to dark magic targeting their own. Marcus, now united with Sophia, became a changed man, possessed by malevolent forces invoked by the Obeah curse. His eyes turned darker, his temper shortened, and soon enough, Sophia found herself living in a nightmare. You worthless woman! What have you done to me? Marcus roared one night, gripping Sophia by her hair. Terrified, Sophia ran back to Miss Cleo, her body bruised, her spirit crushed. Miss Cleo, we need to reverse the spell. It's not just Marcus who has changed. It's like I can feel your emotions. It's overwhelming. Miss Cleo looked at Sophia, fear creeping into her eyes for the first time. Well, that wasn't part of the deal, you know. And unfortunately, there's no turning back. We've awakened something bad. As if on cue, both women felt a deep, bone-chilling cold envelope the room. Images of Karen's ancestors materialized before them, their eyes glowing with a righteous fury. You've meddled with forces beyond your understanding, the apparitions intoned. For this, you shall hear the brunt of your transgression. The room darkened, and when it brightened, Miss Cleo and Sophia found themselves physically linked, sharing not just thoughts but physical pain and anguish. Their fates were sealed. Marcus was soon arrested for domestic abuse, his dark actions finally catching up with him. His karmic penalty for infidelity was a life behind bars, forever haunted by what he had lost. Sophia and Miss Cleo, meanwhile, were condemned to live in a state of perpetual torment, their minds and bodies no longer their own, but shared in a cursed existence. And so, dear listeners, the moral here echoes that of our previous tale set against the backdrop of the Haitian Revolution. Dabble in farces of darkness, and you may get more than you bargained for. Whether it's a revolution steeped in voodoo, or an illicit affair turned tragic through obeah, consequences have a way of circling back, often in forms unimaginable. In both stories, we find a common thread: the karmic backlash of toying with cosmic forces for selfish gains. So, as you ponder these cautionary tales, remember that some doors are better left unopened. That's all for tonight on Occult Chronicles Realms Unveiled. Join us again next time as we uncover more stories where the veil between the natural and supernatural is torn asunder. Until then, sleep well if you can. Good night.